Hello, today we're going to be looking at the tropics and upcoming severe weather for the eastern United States. To start off, in the eastern Pacific, we have Hurricane Dora, which is still a major hurricane. Looking at the satellite loop for the last few hours, we see this system moving due west, and it really hasn't weakened or strengthened, with the convection not really blowing up or dying off significantly. Looking at the Joint Typhoon Warning Center cone, we see it has it at 120 knots, and then moving west, eventually to the west-northwest. Still having it as a hurricane, all the way into the Central Pacific, where it is now, and then to the possibly the Western Pacific. Systems have had a history, some of moving from the Eastern Pacific through the Central Pacific and even the Western Pacific, but it is not too common and hasn't happened for a little while. Looking at the surface, the latitude and longitude, this is the current location, and it's around 12.7 degrees north, 143.1 degrees west as of now. The model track guidance has it generally moving to the west and eventually, as I said, like the Joint Typhoon Warning Center cone, to the west-northwest. It is going to be passing to the south of Hawaii. Looking at the intensity guidance, we see that it weakens eventually from major hurricane strength down into a Category 2 and eventually 1. Some models by hour 120, which is 5 days, have it down to a Category 1 or tropical storm, and then eventually bring it down to a tropical depression. However, I believe this system will stay a Category 1 or tropical storm at least through the next 7 days, and then it has a chance of weakening or maintaining its intensity as a weaker tropical cyclone. Looking at the National Hurricane Center for this system, you could see it has it at in the Central Pacific. We see Dora. It has it as 120 knots as well, or 140 miles per hour. So this is a Category 4 system. The movement is at 19 knots or 22 miles per hour. So not anywhere near stationary. And this is as of 11 a.m. today, Sunday, August 6th. Maybe yesterday, as if you were looking tomorrow, Monday. Eastern Pacific, we see Tropical Storm Eugene, which was a hurricane. Actually, no, not a hurricane. It had the chance of becoming a hurricane, but I do not believe it has become a hurricane in the last day. It has been a tropical storm, and I believe it has a slight chance of becoming a hurricane, but those chances have really died off as we moved on today, and it has not really significantly strengthened in intensity. Looking at the cone, it is moving to the north-northeast, and then eventually curves to the north, and then the east-northeast, but it is not expected to impact northern Baja or even southern Baja significantly. Looking at the Central Pacific, Eastern and Central Pacific further, we don't have any other waves that we're tracking that really have a strong chance of forming. There is some moisture to the south around the equator. However, those are not expected to become anything with no organized waves possibly forming. Nothing going on in the Central Pacific aside from Dora either. But if we're looking at the Atlantic, we see that aside from a frontal system moving across the North Atlantic, the northern part of the basin at least, we don't really have any waves that could form. We're tracking this one wave in the middle of the MDR, but it does not look like this system will form, at least not in the next 5 to 7 days. Now looking at the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, we see Tropical Storm Kunan, or 6W, 06W that is, and it weakened from a typhoon. It is now just to the south of the main Japanese islands. Looking at the warning graphic, right now the Joint Typhoon Warning Center has it at 55 knots and is moving to the north shortly, and then will eventually be moving to the west northwest towards Japan, and then eventually probably making landfall in South Korea before moving on to impact North Korea and possibly um, parts of Manchuria or other parts of China, and possibly even southern Russia with some rain or storminess. Looking at 95W, the Joy Typhoon Warning Center has at a medium chance of development, which is a means tropical cyclone development likely, but not but expected to occur beyond 24 hours. So the system will likely move around tropical storm Kanun. We'll be looking at the model guidance for that. Looking at 95W, we see a movement which is not clear as of now, but it looks like it will move north and then eventually west before eventually making its way north, and its chances really die off. Similar thing happening here, except a possible closer movement to Japan, with some models being indicated on the models. Looking at the infrared satellite imagery, we don't have any organized thunderstorms. However, there is some convection forming. If this system really gets organized, we could see a tropical cyclone development. And as I said, beyond 24 hours, the Joint Typhoon Warning Center has this as a high chance of, medium chance of development, but development likely into a tropical cyclone. Now going back onto Eugene, the intensity is expected to decrease and eventually become a tropical depression or post-tropical as we get beyond 1 day. Likely, this system will not survive beyond 1 day, but if it does, it would be really dying off by a day and a half from now or 2 days. Looking at the models, track guidance, as we said, the system will be moving west-northwest and eventually curving back to the northeast, but its intensity will be really decreased and it will not be too much of a problem, at least compared to as it is now. Alright, looking now to our last AOI in the tropics, Invest 94W. Very disorganized as of now. Let me get this to load. There are some areas of showers or thunderstorms trying to develop, but not organized at all. This has a very small chance of forming as it moves to the north. This is to the south of Invest 95W, marked on the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. So this area of storminess to the south, I'll mark it right here. This is the storminess we are looking at, and it's possible that it develops as it moves to the north, but it does not have a high chance of forming, and it's not even marked on the Joint Typhoon Warning Center. Now, finally, looking at the severe weather coming up. We have a slight risk today, and there's a, looking at the Storm Prediction Center, we have a tornado watch, 2 at least, going on for the slight risk area and the marginal part of the marginal risk area as well. There's earlier today we had a chance of a couple isolated tornadoes, and that threat continues now. Some isolated to scattered wind, stronger winds with severe thunderstorms, and small hail with some thunderstorms as well, if they go severe. Looking at Monday, this is a very significant day for severe weather. We have a very large slight and enhanced risk, and a moderate risk is likely for Northern Virginia going into Maryland, and possibly the areas close to there, possibly the panhandle of West Virginia. We have a very high wind threat, 45% risk right now posted for Northern Virginia, Central Maryland, and going into Southern Pennsylvania and close to the border with Delaware. A very large 30% risk as well, and the 15% risk expands for even more states. The hail chances are also possible for scattered to numerous areas. And we also have that for possible scattered areas in Colorado, eastern Colorado, western Kansas, and southwestern Nebraska with some hail, and some of it could be larger hail, according to the Storm Prediction Center. Looking at the tornado risk, we have a 2% for Colorado, and then a 5% for much of the Mid-Atlantic and West Virginia going into Ohio. We also have a 2% risk going out for larger. I have to say this setup is very rare because an enhanced risk, and especially of this size, is not very common to the east of the Appalachian Mountains. So we really have to be paying attention, especially people in the enhanced and possible moderate risk going up, especially if you live in the enhanced risk, as I just said, and in Northern Virginia and Central Maryland is the highest possibility of stronger thunderstorms. So look out for watches and for tornadoes and severe thunderstorms, and warnings for the same, as well as possible flooding threats, and flash flood warnings should be heeded. And the weather service should be listened to if you get that advisory, watch, or warning. Now, looking back at the Storm Prediction Center, we have, as of now, we have some fire weather going on. Tomorrow, we'll look at that. We have an elevated chance for the Four Corners and parts of Texas. Finally, looking on Tuesday, we have a slight risk for Kansas and Nebraska, and a marginal risk for the southern New England area, going into part of the Hudson Valley. And then also for the deeper south, we have a marginal risk, along with a very large general thunderstorm area. Then on Wednesday, we have a severe threat, which this was posted yesterday. It was up at yesterday at least. We have a 15% chance of severe weather for Missouri, southeastern Kansas, northeastern Oklahoma, northern Arkansas, northwestern Tennessee, and far western Kansas, as well as southern Illinois. So we need to be looking out for that if anything serious comes of that. All right, that's going to do it for today. Thank you for watching.